You ready to go?
Where's my judge?
It has to be. This is the way you're brought up.
He said, "Where's my judge?"
Is Brett coming? Oh, Gerber.
Yeah, I just sleep at a Holiday Inn last week.
We went 25 seconds late just because Did they win the game?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Yes.
It was not.
All right, my shit's going.
Oh, you're good.
Oh, yes.
Who was playing what game?
Not me.
Girls soccer?
Girls soccer against Lanphier.
In the final score, what?
All right,
On the scoreboard 9-0, but 5-14.
on the scoreboard. It doesn't roll over to 10. All right, 6 p.m. We'll call this regular village board meeting to order. If you'd all please join me in a moment of silence. And Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Trustee Fletcher.
Present.
Trustee Gerger.
Here.
Trustee Detmers. Here. Trustee Charles.
Present.
Trustee Ferguson.
Present.
Village President Kimsey.
Present. Any public announcements this evening?
Hey, Les, you weren't here last week.
No questions, just announcements.
Okay, well, we missed you. We didn't know if we could get started without you or not.
Okay,
So,
well, I'm here tonight. So on behalf of the American Legion, I'd like to thank everybody for their support. Trustee Charles and Trustee Detmers, their help with our fish rise. The last one is this Friday, so come on, come all, bring your families. And we've been doing a lot of takeout orders, so it's increased quite a bit this year. With the VFW, this Saturday, they're having coffee and donuts from 8 to 10, and it's just kind of a time to chat and come up with ideas how we can better serve the community, and you're more than welcome to join us.
What kind of donuts are they having left?
They're assorted donuts.
Assorted?
Sometimes they're duck and donuts, sometimes they're mellow cream, sometimes they're Krispy Kreme, so.
Pat, we'll find something, I'm sure.
Well, I'm stalling for the judge, okay?
Les, that's this Saturday?
This Saturday, yes, sir.
Well played. Public comments on agenda topics. Bonnie, on the agenda for the board?
No, not committee of the whole, sorry. It's been a while, hasn't it?
All right. No other public comments? No old business. Under new business, item 1 is a resolution appointing Tim Nice to the village board to fill the vacancy left by the passing of trustee Matt Mao. Could I have a motion to bring this to the floor?
I'll make a motion.
Trustee Fletcher's made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by trustee Gerger. Any discussion? Last chance to back out, Tim, because they're just about to vote.
run now.
I appreciate you submitting your interest.
Me as well.
We're looking forward to what you bring to the board, so. Voice vote? Is good enough for you?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. So, Mr. Nice, please meet our resident judge, Judge Gigante.
I state your name.
Tim Nice.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of village trustee for the village of Chatham
the duties of the office of village trustee for the village of Chatham
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Even has to bring his own pen.
You're tight around here.
Budget.
Thank you for your time, Judge Gainey. We appreciate it.
Sorry I was late.
It's all right. We stalled.
Oh, get it.
Let's get his pen back from the judge.
No, that
That's
was,
you. I feel that.
yeah,
I'm good. I said,
great.
good, good.
Perfect.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Good seeing you.
Yep.
Tim, we have a seat for you right up here.
There you go.
All right.
You have a nameplate yet?
No nameplate yet.
I don't know.
We're afraid you were gonna run the first time, so they didn't, we put the money out first.
All right. Item number 3 is an ordinance waiving the park regulations to allow alcoholic beverages in certain village parks on July 2nd, July 15th, and July 16th for the Chatham J.C.'s 4th of July event and Sweet Corn Festival. Could I have a motion to bring this to the floor?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Charo has made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Detmers. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 4 is a resolution granting the Friends of the Park use of the Chatham Community Park for Light Up the Park for their November through December installment. I have a motion. Mr. Knight, Trustee Nice, would you like to make a motion?
I would like to motion.
Trustee Nice has made a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Trustee Ferguson. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Opinion of the chair. The ayes have it. Can I have a motion to bring the consent agenda to the table?
I'll move.
Trustee Detmers made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Charo. Any discussion regarding the warrants or the minutes?
Yeah, 2 items on the warrants. First, I noticed charges from Ameren for gas expense on Market Street. I just didn't know what our position was there. Are we passing those charges through to those tenants? Or I think it's something like $2,000, so it's a decent amount of money.
That's for, I think, the whole building.
There's several addresses listed. I think, 147, 153, there's several different residences or several different addresses listed there for those charges. And I just wanted to make sure that those charges were being pushed through to the tenants or what the arrangement was there.
Right now, it's included as part of the rent. It is not a separate bill. The only thing that they pay separately is their utilities to us, their electric and water, and also for garbage.
So they.
Oh, no, wait a minute. They do have, the gas is in her name.
One.
That's right. The gas is in her name. The rest of the gas is for the other offices that are over there. That's right. I forgot. But that's,
Sorry, I'm a little confused. Are we getting revenue for these expenses or
No.
are we not?
These are the vacant spots, is what he's saying.
But they have gas usage?
we have the heat on over there so it doesn't burst the pipes in the rest of the building.
I see.
You had another-
Okay. Yeah, the second question is the backflow survey. Obviously, as a resident, I received that survey, and I just wanted to understand. It's a bit over $25,000. So what's the end goal, or what's the benefit of having that survey done? And I thought we had a list of the backflow installments in Chatham. It was a decent expense that I wasn't thinking it would be quite that much.
Is that a requirement? That's a requirement by EPA, right? Every 3 years, 2 years?
Correct.
3 years?
That includes making the surveys, the postage to send it to everybody, them actually getting the information back, putting it into a database and having that database available to the village of Chatham so that we can increase those numbers and make sure those backflows are actually being tested and checking the water flow.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any further?
Not for me.
Anyone else? Clerk, just take a roll.
Trustee Nice. Here.
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Trustee Ferguson.
Yes.
Trustee Charo.
Yes.
Trustee Detmers.
Yes.
All right, you can
Trustee
stay.
Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Fletcher.
Yes.
Okay, we have no need for an executive session for the board. Schedule of meetings is as posted on the agenda. Are there any additional public comments regarding village business? You can go now. It was fine. We got 5 minutes before we can start the committee, so perfect timing.
I can.
Yeah, this is spot on any item, any topic.
All right, so Bonnie Billy, for some of you that don't know me, I'm sure they're gonna tell you who I am when I'm done. Thorn in my side, Pat, we know this. I have several questions about this resolution about the back truck. All right, I come up here with knowledge, even though some people don't think so. I work at the City of Springfield Sewer Department. This whole resolution here just totally blows my mind. Totally blows my mind. There is ands, ifs, and buts. And the standard citizen, like me, that's been avoiding coming here and torturing you guys, looks this over and I'm like, what the hell? Tell me, did we buy that $500,000 back or did we lease it?
Leased it.
We leased it, okay. Well, going online, I cannot find anything back in 2016, and I have searched online high and low to see what that resolution looked like. Cannot find it. And I know that we don't like FOIAs, so I didn't have time to FOIA that. I'm sure you want to send it to me. See about it. All right, let's look at this. You guys are willing to pay $6,750 a month? Are you gonna pay this a month, or are you gonna pay this just for that 9 to 12 months till the new one comes in? Which one is it? That's not clear on this resolution, and you want citizens to trust you guys? Come on. $6,750. Is that a month for possibly 9 to 12 months?
That's for the whole time.
The whole time.
They're basically buying the truck at the end of our lease, and we're only gonna pay the interest each month. It's like $700 a month, and they said to rent one actually is $12,000 a month. So
Okay.
they're doing us a big favor by renting us that wide, the ones being built.
You know what? Had that been on there, you wouldn't have seen my lovely face. It needs to be clarified. This all needs to be clarified, you guys, because what's our credit rating for the village? Okay? And then what needs to be clarified is co-equipment, and y'all know I know Marty. A bid for a total of $431,000, blah, 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 which includes co-paying $180,000 roughly to purchase the village old back truck. How do they purchase something that's leased? How do they purchase that from the village of Chatham if we're leasing it rather than we purchased it? So deceiving. $431,000 for the bid of the brand new 2023 Vector, correct?
It's a hydro excavator, not a back truck.
Okay, so
It
we're
does
not,
do back, yeah.
okay, it does do
It's
that.
not a combo.
Okay, it's not a
different
combo.
product.
Again, be nice. I don't know who drew this up. I'm not pointing the finger at you because I don't think you type like that, okay? But they're paying us $180,000 roughly to take the old truck and leasing said truck at $67.50 until the new truck can be delivered. Clarify that for any citizens out there looking. Pat, I love that smile. I really do, that smirk. Okay, so we did lease. Good, got an answer tonight, which surprises me. I would like to see the original resolution in 2016 when we all went through this. Okay, if you can send it to me. Don't make me spoil it. Okay, not gonna be a problem, is it? No. I didn't think so. Okay, so on this new vac truck, I know Trustee Fletcher, I'm sorry.
You're awesome. I love your energy.
No,
You want
no.
to teach?
People do not like me.
Oh, no.
Okay, so are we purchasing this new truck or are we leasing again? Because you guys right now are not voting on this, correct?
Correct.
Okay, but the balloon payment is due May 1st.
Yeah.
So this information needs to be clarified for any and all citizens that actually take a look at it and care about how much money is being spent in this village. Before you guys, if any of you guys or women sign this without clarifying this, you do not deserve to be sitting up here at all because you do not have the citizens' thoughts, their concerns about this village. You do not deserve to be sitting up here if you vote for this the way it reads right now. It is not clear. Okay, is my 5 minutes up yet? Because I'm starting to stutter, which means I'm getting pissed off. Because I don't want somebody to call and tell me I'm showboating.
We can say it's up if you want.
Okay, thank you. Give me the information, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pretty close. She's got a time.
Left it on.
Any other public comments on village business? Hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn the board meeting.
Make a motion.
Trustee Fletcher's made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by trustee Nice. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Board meeting stands adjourned.
You don't have to do votes on voice votes, but if you're doing voice vote for an ordinance or a resolution, you have to get the option to oppose, because then if there's even one opposition, then you have to take a roll call vote so we can get the action.
Learning something every day.
We start this meeting.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'd like to call the Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Clerk Holden, could you please take the roll?
Sure. Trustee Nice. Here.
Yes.
Trustee Ferguson. Trustee Charo.
Present.
Trustee Detmers.
Here.
Trustee Gerger.
Here.
Trustee Fletcher.
Here.
Village President Kimsey.
Also present.
Item number 2, are there any public comments regarding agenda topics? Seeing none? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by trustee Charo, seconded by trustee Fletcher. Is there any discussion regarding the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the March 8th meeting? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are no items under old business. Under new business, we have a presentation from the Flock Safety Group. Sure, thank you.
Just give you a quick rundown. I believe I spoke to everybody on here, so basically just to give you an overview of what flock safety is with the LPR license plate recognition standpoint. What we get to set up here in just a couple minutes and give you a presentation of what the business consists of. What's the gentleman's name? Dan Murdoch. M-U-R-D-O-C-K.
Yeah, the slides look good. I'll just grab the HDMI. I have it right there on the screen. But
All right.
Well, you've got the slides up, and I'm just going to pull it and show you what like the live reading look like. Great. Well, first of all, I really appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to sit down and learn a little about Flock. I go to a lot of city council meetings, and I wish they would end 15 minutes more often. I'm from up in Cook County. I live in Brookfield, and I went to a city council meeting a couple weeks ago where I was behind a tree trimming ordinance that took 75 minutes. So that was very nice to listen to. A little background on Flock. Flock is the largest license plate reading company in Illinois. And we came into being because our owner and CEO, a guy named Garrett, he was head of his own homeowner association in a neighborhood outside Atlanta. And they were having trouble with people coming into their neighborhood, checking for unlocked cars, and stealing stuff out of cars, which is a pretty common crime, and I'm sure it happens here. They reached out to our local PD, and a detective came out and asked, did anyone see anything? Has anyone got a Ring doorbell or any sort of video you could show me? And unfortunately, no one saw anything, and no one had anything to give him. And the guy wasn't a miracle worker. So unfortunately, crime went unsolved. But he did tell him if I had a license plate, that'd be really helpful to my investigation. So the HOA went online to go look up LPR and found out it would have been about $27,000 to buy a brand new plate reader, get it installed, tranche the power to it, run the Ethernet, the whole 9 yards. I think that's crazy. But Garrett, he happened to be an electrical engineer by trade, and he built his own license plate reader in his garage. But at the front of their subdivision, it was like one of those one-way in, one-way out type deals. The exact same crime happened a couple weeks later. He's able to filter out all the local residents and came back to 2 rogue plates. They gave it to a local PD, who did a quick investigation, ended up some stolen items, and thought, well, I think I got a business here. And he started selling these homemade plate readers to HOAs and businesses in the Southeast, and the company grew. And a couple of years in, a sheriff's department in Texas reached out and asked if they could buy some for the county themselves. That sheriff helped him get hooked into something called the NCIC database, which is the FBI's database for stolen vehicles. And we basically expanded to law enforcement. They started picking up stolen vehicles, warrants, things like that. Now, the big difference with what Garrett did and any other license plate reader on the market at the time was since the 80s, LPR had basically been using infrared light as their standard for how these worked. So basically, the way these cameras had worked is either you put them on the side of the road or you put them on a squad car, and they just streamed infrared light all day. And then whenever a metal license plate would pass it,
it would reflect that back, and that's how you would make your read. So basically, to use these, you either had to know exactly what license plate you were looking for, or it had to be on some sort of list or something. Now, Garrett didn't really have a background in LPR or law enforcement in general, and he basically built a very high-powered trail camera. So the way these guys work is they're motion capture. So anytime something moves in front of it, it takes a bunch of pictures. Then he wrote machine learning all over the top of it for people to identify what was a vehicle and read the license plate off of it. But once he did that, he's like, well, I got to picture the whole vehicle here. So what color was that vehicle? And was that an SUV or was that a truck? Plus, was that a Chevy or a Ford? And made all those things filterable. So basically, overnight, we took this technology from being something where, again, it had to be on some sort of list or stuff like that, to now you just have to have a witness say, I saw a red F-150. Then your law enforcement team is going to be able to go back and search all the red Ford trucks and work backwards to the license plate. So that's really the big jump forward here in technology we're talking about. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Not yet.
Great. So now the other place, now that's not the only place that Flock's really pushed this technology forward. The second is that our cameras are infrastructure free. So the internet and cellular are built into the cameras, plus they can be solar powered. So we don't need any sort of existing city infrastructure, or we don't need any sort of like, you're trying to go on IDOT roads, you have to beg IDOT, please give me power. You basically tell us where you want these cameras, and we either hang on an existing pole or drop our own DOT-approved 12-foot breakaway poles in the ground and put them on there. Plus, if you're going on IDOT roads, we will handle the whole permitting process for you. We will contract you directly with a third-party engineering firm that is part of your agreement, so no additional cost for it. They'll go out and do the permit, do the whole 9 yards. And we've already worked with the Chatham PD to kind of identify some of the places. And Springfield has been willing to submit the permits on your guys' behalf based on kind of where your jurisdictional lines are compared to theirs. Now, the other place that that is a little bit different about Flock is we are not selling this as a capital-intensive purchase. We are selling Flock as a service. So you actually aren't buying these cameras from Flock. You are buying the data coming out of the cameras, which we sell for $2,500 per camera per year. So this is a much lower price point and barrier to entry than LPR has ever been available before. Along with that, Flock is also a fully vertically integrated organization where you are, we're not like sending you guys cameras and like, good luck. We handle the whole process end to end. We design the hardware and the software ourselves in Atlanta. We assemble the cameras ourselves in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm the sales rep. I live up in Cook County. I come around the state. I'm trying to sell them the cameras. The techs who install the cameras do ongoing maintenance. Those are Flock employees. For this area, they roll out of St. Louis. So they'll come up, they will survey the land, call 811, do the whole installation. If there's ever an issue with the camera, we roll a tech, they come and try and do the maintenance on it. If the camera itself is busted, we'll hang a brand new camera, no cost to the village. So again, you are not buying cameras from Flock. You are buying the data coming out of the cameras, and Flock is responsible for having working cameras in your jurisdiction. Does anyone have any questions about that? Awesome. If you wouldn't mind flipping up to the next slide for me. So, also on this front, traditionally places like the civil liberty groups have not always been the biggest fan of ALPR, but we have worked with civil liberty groups, and in open session in Springfield, the Central Illinois ACLU agreed with Flock's data retention policies, as well as we comply with a couple of the other aspects of LPR that they have traditionally not liked. So the three biggest issues civil liberty groups have always had with LPR is one, the forever database. Just because you passed the camera once 6 years ago, you're still sitting in a database somewhere. With Flock, every capture is stored on CJIS certified Amazon web servers for 30 days. During those 30 days, your law enforcement team can access the cameras, do any searches. But if at the 30-day mark, if they have not marked a capture as part of an active investigation, it's purged and it's gone. So this is not a forever database. Two, traditionally there are a lot of other LPR companies that are basically selling cameras, but then they own the data and are repackaging that to like analytics companies and real estate companies and basically turning your citizens' information into another product. With Flock, your village owns the data, not Flock. So we are not able to resell this data in any way because you are the owners of your own LPR data. And three, we are not attaching any PII data to this. So we are not pulling any information from the Illinois Secretary of State and saying, Jeff Erickson, was at this intersection on 6-4. We are just saying that this vehicle with this plate number that was a black Mazda truck was here, or I don't know if Mazda makes trucks, but black Mazda SUV was here right at this day and time. And then law enforcement, if they want to take that additional step, they can using their own tools, but Flock is not identifying individuals. Does anyone have any questions about that? Also, on an auditing standpoint, you are able to audit by user, you're able to audit by network, so anyone that you're allowing to also search the database, and you're also able to audit by camera itself. So however you want to slice and dice the data, you can go back and see any camera that was searched, any search that was done, and any individual what their search history was. Now, just a little background on Flock in general, kind of touched on a couple of these pieces. But like I said, Flock is the largest LPR vendor in Illinois, but we actually only entered the Illinois market in 2019. And we ended that year with just 2 clients. It was Joliet and South Barrington. We ended 2020 with 21 clients, and we just got a contract back from South Elgin to make them the 107th law enforcement agency in Illinois with their own cameras. So we have expanded rapidly across the state, and we are currently in Central Illinois. We are in Peoria, Bloomington, Leroy, across to Champaign, Danville, Decatur, Springfield. So everything that's kind of across the central state are all on the Flock network. And why that's important for an organization kind of like yours is that a lot of the people that are causing issue in this region are kind of going in between these municipalities. So an event that happens here, if that vehicle pops up in Decatur, your department will be able to access those reads and sync that information. So being able to leverage the cameras that have already been bought in Springfield and are going to Jacksonville and are going to Mount Zion and maybe Taylorville, being able to link all those together so that those problem vehicles aren't have a net that they aren't able to escape. Does anyone have any questions about anything I touched on?
Yeah, just a question about if there were a red Ford truck issue in our neighborhood and it was reported to the PD and they said, hey, now we're looking for this truck. How is it that other municipalities would be alerted to that? Or would there be an alert on their system saying, hey, we just saw a truck that Chatham's looking for pop up on 6th Street? And I just want to understand that process and how, it's our data, but it's also being given and shared to other municipalities, and I understand for good reason, but what's that line there?
First of all, it's only being shared with other municipalities if your department, or depending on what your policy you guys create, but think of it like a Facebook friend request. You want to access the Springfield cameras, basically put a request to the system, and as long as Springfield accepts that, you're able to view and access those cameras just like they're your own. So someone did something here and they pop up off on Toronto and you're sharing with those cameras, your police department will be able to go pull those cameras on Toronto and look for that vehicle. Now, if you don't want to do the sharing, that's fine as well. You wouldn't be granted that access. You're able to share both your cameras and then also hot lists. So our cameras are directly integrated with NCIC, which is the national database, Amber Alerts, Silver Alerts, and then we have a partnership with the Illinois State Police where we get the Illinois, what's called the leads list, which is the state hot file for warrants and stolen vehicles, things like that. So every vehicle that's passing one of your cameras is being checked against all those lists, as well as any custom list that your team has created. So you're able to share your custom list with you and then also your neighbors. So like, let's say you're sharing your hot list with Mount Zion, and the vehicle that was involved at the burglary from Speedway pops up in Mount Zion. In real time, that'll notify Mount Zion that the burglary suspect from Chatham is there right now, and your department will also get notified of that as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. One last question. What's the typical delay between, Springfield, for instance, having an issue on Toronto Road, identifying a vehicle as being on their hot list, and then it transferring to, they just continue on down the road to Chatham? How long do you typically see for the notification from Springfield pressing the activate button and Chatham being alerted that it's in their area?
The latency is 10 to 20 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
So within 10 to 20 seconds, we can send out that alert as either a text message, an email, we can send it right to dispatch, or put in your squad cars.
So it kind of depends on how fast they're driving. I'm just joking.
How fast they'll get there.
I'm just kidding.
But actually, I'll just steal this real quick. So basically, what this will look like
And so this goes through the LEADS system, so all of our staff has had the LEADS training, and you're not gonna pull up your brother-in-law or your daughter's new boyfriend. So don't make the call, Dewey.
Please don't do that.
So while you're loading that, Dan,
Yeah.
just to be, so that I'm clear, because I had a question and I scratched it off because I thought you answered it, and then you gave me a different answer. The cameras, when they're recording and hitting these images all the time, it's not a constant search to get the information on every single plate, but it's referencing back, is this plate on one of these lists? So if I'm following Dewey down the street and I haven't done anything, it's not going to give anything on mine, but
It's not going to send an alert.
Dewey's a notorious graffiti artist that is on several lists with his license plate.
Black Ford F-150.
But his black truck with these plates will show up and say, your graffiti artist is here.
So every vehicle that goes by is going to take a capture of it. Now, anyone that's on one of these state or national lists, if those plates will automatically flag to law enforcement. So this right here. So let's say this is a missing person passes your camera. It will so let's say you have Officer Martinez is writing a report in a parking lot, and this passes. Within 10 to 20 seconds, right in their squad car, you get a little bubble that says red sob missing person. It'll buzz. He clicks it. He gets a picture of the plate, picture of the vehicle, location, direction of travel, and why it pinged off the hot list. So in near real time, your team will be able to react, either make a stop on that vehicle or drive that vehicle out of town. The other great part about this is that it takes away the law enforcement making stops because of a hunch or some sort of profiling. Because this is non-biased, actual information that is coming from already certified law enforcement lists and not taking into account the actual driver or anything about the sex, race, anything about that of the driver itself. This is just reporting off of actionable evidence.
So it's targeting the vehicle and the tag, not the person.
Correct. And again, we are not saying, so the flock is also not putting in any information like this is Eric Martin or something like that. This is just taking from the FBI's national database that this vehicle is associated with a missing person. So then your law enforcement team, if they want to, they can take that extra step and identify who that person is, but your license plate reader is not capturing anything about the individual. Does that make sense?
Yes, that clears up the question.
When two law enforcement agencies decide to share information, they're sharing their cameras. Is that a permanent situation?
Nope. You can pull back at any time.
Okay, but typically, is it permanent though? So if we go, hey, look, we want to share our cameras with Springfield. We're going to share them now and forever, meaning that there's always a constant transfer of data between those. Like, it essentially doubles your cameras because they're going to get the same alerts from the Springfield cameras that they're getting from their own. Is that correct?
There's two separate sharings. You share cameras, and then you can also share hotlist. So it probably doesn't make a ton of sense for your department to get a stolen vehicle alert on 9th Avenue. In Springfield, because what are they going to do about it?
But if we're sharing our list of stolen vehicles,
well, your list of stolen vehicles is on the state hot list.
Got it. Okay.
So that's not. So basically, what a lot of the sharing lists involve, like burglary, sexual things that don't make it to these state national lists.
Got it.
And depending on how egregious the crime is, like we were talking about graffiti. Probably not something you're going to want to share, because there certainly are departments that drop others' hot list and don't want to get that noise anymore. So in a lot of cases, like I wouldn't recommend even doing your sharing for the hot list with places like Champaign or Peoria that are just not really close enough, unless it is like a very, very serious crime. Does that make sense? So now this is so this is, something's happening right now, let's go do something about it. The other side of this is crime happened, let's go solve it. So this is, so when your team logs in, this is what they're landing. So it's not very complicated. You're basically picking what cameras you want to look at, what time you want to search it, and what you're searching for. So I've got a really good relationship with one of the PDs up in Chicagoland area, and these are just 3 demo cameras I have up there. But let's say something happened here on Cicero Avenue in the last couple of hours. So I'm going to click in, and I'm going to grab every vehicle that went up and down Cicero in the last 2 hours. It's about 3,000 vehicles. So I can scroll through here, and this is the quality of the capture here. So again, we are not taking pictures of faces here. We are not capturing individuals. We are basically capturing this vehicle here. Yep. And then we are telling you that it is actually this is the black one back here, but this is a black Hyundai SUV. This one here, this is the red Chrysler sedan right here. But we're doing our investigation, and what type of vehicle you want me to look for?
It's a black F-150.
Okay. So I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna grab all the pickups. It's actually amazing. The farther away I get from major cities, F-150s. The closer I get to downtown.
Trying to find me.
I want to see Chargers. Those are the two I get. But I'm gonna grab all the pickups. I'm gonna grab all the black pickups, and I'm gonna grab all of the. I'm sorry. You said Ford. Okay, Ford. But you know what? Witnesses don't always know there's a Ford and a Chevy. Let's just grab them both. So you can do multiple searches in here. But in a matter of seconds, we're going to go from the couple thousand vehicles down to the 6 Ford or Chevy black trucks that were on the road there. That's impressive. Yep. Grab like that. And then also you can see here that this has been picked up just on my network. This has been picked up 2 times in the last 30 days. Let's find one that's been a couple more. So this has been picked up 18 times in the last 30 days. Your law enforcement bill, so if there was a specific crime, because a lot of times, especially if they're outsiders coming in, committing crimes and fleeing, it's going to be the only time that you're going to see them. But like, this person probably lives in the area. It's a residence. It's less likely for like your type of B&Es, those things, to be people who are moving in your area. So also that kind of can help you narrow down who your suspects are.
Could you possibly demonstrate a night time?
Beat me to what I was going to next.
All right.
No problem. So,
used to work for a competing LPR. I'm just Let's see what you got.
Yeah. So, this is from this morning here. So as you see, there is infrared light built into the camera itself to highlight a metal license plate. So it highlights that plate. Plus, we are still giving you that it is a black Honda. We believe it's a sedan. Anytime we're less than 90% confident in a read, we will flag that to you. But this one's been picked up 23 times in the last 30 days. So take a look at what it looks like in the daytime.
So you can automatically pick up all 23 times that it's gone through like that?
Yep.
Is the system smart enough to recognize a license plate and apply a color because of a daytime picture? I imagine your ability to determine color at night is challenging. Is it smart enough to say, look for this car at noon, and then determine the color?
No, so every read, it's making its own calculation, because like sometimes people swap plates and things like that. So again, we're not like taking that plate and then checking against like Carfax or anything like that. No, every read is independent of what happened elsewhere.
But it allows you to say, because you had it 23 other times.
Yeah, so I just
show me every picture of this plate.
Yep, that's what this is right here. I hit view in daytime, and this is that vehicle from the nighttime in the daytime here.
So just in case they do put the plate on different vehicles.
Do we?
Yeah, you'll be able to see.
case he
It'll be
switches,
very clear
yeah.
that someone's swapping plates,
So he goes from
and that's a pretty good sign that they're doing something else. They're switching plates. And that's pretty much everything from the technology side of the system. As far as price concerned, it's $2,500 per camera per year. It's a 2-year agreement. At the end of 2 years, it's a 2-year renewal. You guys decide after 2 years this didn't work out, Okay, we'll come pick up the cameras. There's no exit fee for this. Again, you're not buying the cameras, you're buying the data coming out of it, and we'll just come collect the cameras.
And you're just locked in for 2 years at a time?
Yep.
Could you give us a couple references of municipalities? I think you said you had 20 or so in 2020 that have had the system for a little while. Like I understand Springfield is fairly new, right? So they probably wouldn't be the best references to how well it works.
Down in this area, Rantoul has had it for 2+ years. Decatur, they're actually all up to over 100 cameras now, but they've had it for several years now. Those are probably the two most. The Champaign Sheriff's Department's had it for a while.
Do you know if they've shared any statistics in reference to your system? Like I know one of your first slides, it's like we solve 65 crimes an hour. Do you know if either of those are compiling similar data?
I don't know if they have like.
No problem.
Internal.
I'll call them.
Yeah, that's fine.
I would imagine that determines on how high your crime rate too is.
Yeah.
But we are like, actually, Bloomington is just currently installing their plate readers. And one of our contacts there sent me this news from April 9th, so like 3 days ago. Let me see this. Let's see if you guys can hear it.
I'm Amber Kriska. Thank you for joining us.
Is there any way you can turn that up?
In Bloomington, where 9 more cameras are now being installed. And I'm Amber Kriska. Thank you for joining us. That crime happened in Bloomington, where 9 more cameras are now being installed. Paige Blanzy tells us how these new cameras are also leading to arrest in a neighboring county in tonight's top story.
When you look at this case, without the automatic license plate reader, we may not have been able to locate the victim. We may not have been able to locate the suspect and make an arrest and hold them accountable.
Thursday night, Bloomington police say a man punched a woman in a store on the west side, then dragged her into a car and drove away.
All this happened within an hour that we were able to locate the vehicle, make an arrest.
Police arrested 37-year-old Lewis Wiggins. Sergeant John Furman says they were able to make this arrest because of license plate readers. They say Wiggins drove past one of these cameras and it took a picture of his license plate. That's how they were able to track Wiggins down. Furman says they're now in the process of installing 9 more of them around the city.
We already selected the locations that we're going to put them up, but those can change.
They've seen results for 1 case so far. In Peoria, Captain John Briggs says the cameras have helped 19 cases in about a month.
We're using them a lot for other investigations as well. Just those 19 for sure have come to a conclusion based upon LPR.
He says some of those cases include burglaries, stolen vehicles, missing person cases, hit and runs, arson, and sexual assault.
It's being used exactly how we thought it would. It's being used for criminal offenses and it's being used for public safety.
Both departments say staffing has been a concern, but this tool is cutting down time spent on solving crimes.
Saves a lot of staffing hours. You're not really pouring through hundreds of hours of video that you have, and instantly you can search through a vehicle model, different color cars.
And while Briggs says Peoria is ready for more cameras,
there's tons of other areas in the city where I think they will be highly useful.
Furman says Bloomington is still waiting for the installment of their initial purchase.
Right now we're sticking with our 10. We're going to have a conservative approach with it and then kind of see where it's at.
Paige Blanzy, 25 News.
You cover how long it takes to get the permit and everything?
Oh, for IDOT? Yeah, so as I said before, we will contract you directly. I don't know if this is it.
And I'm Amber Kriska.
Some MBAs.
Maybe you're on one of those lists.
So I mentioned that we will contract you directly for the IDOT permits. IDOT permits do take about 3 to 6 months to get approval. So you would see your cameras come in 2 phases. Anything that doesn't need an IDOT permit, we can normally install in about 3 to 5 weeks. And then your contract term doesn't start until your final camera goes in. So anything that kind of gets in before then, it's kind of a test run almost. I would imagine that your actual payments probably wouldn't start until late summer, even though you might see a couple cameras before that.
You want to show the locations?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so this is where the chief and his team have identified locations. These, we have already spoken to Springfield, and they have said it's fine to install inside Springfield, if that is what you guys want to do. So in and out, coming off of 55 here, in and out, coming down from 72, and then coming in and out at Walnut here, and then coming in and out on Route 4. So basically the four main ways in and out, basically getting flags for anyone kind of coming in and out. Is there anything else that you wanted me to touch on?
No, I think the fact is that the reason why there's 2 cameras in these locations, because like I think Dan already came on, the fact is they really don't capture the front license plate very well because of the speed. So therefore, that's the reason why, one north, one south. Yeah. For those reasons.
Yeah, Francis. So because these cameras are motion capture, we can capture over 100 miles an hour when the vehicle's going away from us. But the vehicle's coming at us, by the time the camera realizes something's there, and it's going more than 25, 30 miles an hour, it's gone. So these are shooting downstream. Like if we're in like a Walmart parking lot or we're like in a neighborhood, yeah, we can do both directions. But everything that, anything that's kind of like this perimeter type map, we need one going each direction. Based on this, you will need 4 IDOT permits. Installation is $350 per camera for non-IDOT roads, $750 to install for IDOT roads.
And that's not included all in the cost, right?
So it's $2,500 per year, and then you have a one-time installation fee per camera. It's either $350 for non-IDOT roads and $750 for the IDOT roads.
How about in 2 years?
Well, hopefully we don't have to reinstall them again, but no, it's just the first time they go in the ground.
Okay. So even if you repair them, it's the same thing. I mean, it's done.
Yeah, it's done. So actually, if you just go, or actually, I need.
And then, Chief, we're not putting them on Iron Bridge?
On Gordon Drive?
Yeah, on Gordon Drive.
Can we move the cameras?
I mean, we can.
That'll funnel all the bad guys over.
I mean, we can. Hey, if you want to give me 12 cameras, I'll put up 12 cameras. But I mean, I think we're hitting the high traffic areas, both on the north side and south side of Route 4, and then anything coming east and west. Trying to cover all the perimeters going in and out of Chatham. Now, obviously, that's not set in stone. We can move more if we'd like to.
Right.
Now, it does have another model. It's $1,000 more. It's a portable camera.
$500 more.
Oh, I'm sorry. How much?
It's $3,000 per camera, but no install fee.
All right, so you set up a portable camera. One place where, if we ever use a portable camera, and I think something like the JC's Festival, it's one way into the park, it's one way out of the park. You set up a portable camera out there, every car that's coming into the JC's Festival, every car that leaves the festival. Obviously, that's been very helpful 3 years ago whenever the female was hit down there, so. That still remains unsolved today, so.
So the way so all these cameras, as you see, so these are 3-core deployments. Most common is on an existing pole that you guys own. We'll hang the camera, hang the solar panel. If there's a pole that has 24/7 power, we absolutely can support hooking it in, or we'll drop our own DOT-approved 12-foot breakaway poles in on the far side. And the portable camera, it works basically the same way, except it's charged by plugging into a wall. At full charge, it holds about 30,000 unique captures, and it comes with a quick deploy where you can just basically strap it to a pole anywhere that you want, and kind of let it run for those 30,000 captures. If it's on like a main drag, like Route 4, it's probably going to be a couple days. But if it's in like a neighborhood or something, it could run for 7-8 days or whatever. When you're done, come pick it up and just come back and recharge it. That's called our Falcon Flex, and that is $3,000 per year with no install fee.
2 quick questions, sorry.
Yes.
If the device were needed to be powered via solar, is there an extra charge?
No, there's no difference in cost between any of those deployments.
And then how does the data transfer from the camera to the web?
So there's LTE built into the camera itself, and that's included in the $2,500. Basically, when our techs come out, they get this little tool that we work with Verizon, AT&T, FirstNet, or T-Mobile. You might have different carriers depending on where in town we are, but there's no difference in price between the carriers. It's just whatever is the best for that spot.
And you don't have you run into issues where you don't have well signal? Like you had mentioned off of 55, I think it's Chatham Road there. That cell phone coverage is pretty rough there. So do you just go out there and you do a signal test and you pick whatever provider has the best signal at that location?
Exactly. If for whatever reason that exact spot is a dead spot, we would then tell the department that, this is not a good spot, can we relocate somewhere else?
Okay, yeah. I pick up my kids there sometimes, and I have to like entertain myself outside of the internet because my phone doesn't work, so it's really difficult.
Yeah, I actually, that's the way I came into town, and I saw that, I've never seen so many championships for a middle school.
Gives us something to read while that's, because there's no cell phone signal.
It's totally dead there.
And that's again, everything is wrapped in that $2,500. So unlimited seat licenses, the LTE, the hardware, all the integrations, ongoing maintenance, all of that is, again, wrapped in that $2,500 per camera.
What's the average life on a camera?
They normally last about 4 years. Again, if one conks out, we just come and swap in a new camera. Any other questions anyone's got?
You did a good job of presenting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good work, my friend.
So, board members, it sounds good to me. I think one thing I would like to at least consider is that while, Flock Safety isn't selling the data, I would like to write the ordinance in such a way that we too would never sell the data. I think some residents are sensitive to that, and, I know that while we don't, at this moment, we don't probably intend to, but that would be my preference would be to just write it such that we're not going to sell it either.
On our standard agreement, that is part of the language that the city will not sell it either.
Oh, okay.
You guys have to redline that out, but
Sure.
that is part of the standard agreement.
Thank you. Sorry I didn't ask you that. I just assumed that because it was our data that, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you have any comments, discussions? Do you want to bring it forth to the regular village board?
I think it's a great idea. I think you didn't mention it, but I think there was a case in Springfield that was solved based on this data too.
Cool.
So I think, isn't the chief's indication would be to have this on as part of the budget? Is that
Yes.
For 22 or for the next coming budget?
The next coming budget.
So it would be into that, and then when they get to the spot where they have the agreements finalized.
I'd like to look into that flock to the individual camera too. I think that could be beneficial if you're having some issues in different subdivisions and you just.
It would have been really good out there at the Sweet Corn Festival.
So
One of the things that he didn't touch on tonight was that they do offer these cameras to homeowners associations. They could put them at the entrance to their subdivisions, and they come up with their own policy on who can view it and what they can do and stuff like that. So, but that would be separate through them. If they wanted to, if those subdivisions then wanted to tie those into the police, which I would assume they would, you could do that. So.
Yeah, it seems cool. Again, if the budget allowed, I think, allowing something on Gordon Drive might not be bad in the future. And then if that portable one, we have the speed detection system that maybe it could slap it on there if we don't have another need for it, so.
It sounds like the communities are adding cameras as they
Right.
seem to be so effective that they're actually adding. So we would start with 8 and then see how it goes. And
Yeah, I didn't want to make this joke in front of him, but if we just kept adding one every couple weeks, then he'd never charge us, right? Because it's not until the final one's installed. We got 6,000 cameras in Chatham, Illinois. But they're free.
Exactly.
I love it.
So I don't know if you guys are cool. It sounds like a good conversation, so. Anybody have any other comments?
sounds like a consensus.
Awesome. Yeah, item number 2 under new business, a resolution approving the renewal of pre-annexation agreements. I don't know, Pat, if you want to take a stab.
Yeah, that kind of over the last 25 years, the village has approached residents on the fringe of the village limits to find out if they would be interested in annexing to the village of Chatham. We even had new subdivisions come in that way. Sweetbriar subdivision was on a pre-annexation agreement before we were able to annex across the lake and get it. Glenwood Lake Estates was on a pre-annexation agreement. But over time, a pre-annexation agreement has a 20-year lifespan on it. So when that 20 years passes, and it goes with the property and not with the resident that signs it, okay? So those expire. One of the big items that goes along with that pre-annexation agreement was we offered those residents the inside water rate and then gave that list of people that were on those pre-annexation agreements to RECC, and they gave them a preferred electric rate. Over time, that 20 years to 25 years has passed. I told Dave, I says, we're probably up to between 75 and 100 people that their agreements have expired. We went over those. I think 10 or 11 of them were now in areas that we would never be able to reach again because Springfield has blocked all passage to that. So those folks, we sent a notice telling them that their agreement had expired and that we were not going to be able to offer them a new one because we'll never be able to get to them. The rest of those folks, we sent a letter explaining that either the annexation agreement that they had signed or the previous owner before them had signed, that the agreement had gone along with the property, but has now expired. You've been getting the inside water rate all this time. We would be more than happy to keep giving you that rate and keep you on the list with RECC if you would like to sign a new agreement. If you choose not to, no hard feelings. Starting March 1st, we'll move you to the outside water rate and notify RECC that you're no longer under an annexation agreement. We got, I think 65 people back so far. So Greg has prepared an ordinance to have a mass pre-annexation agreement. They've all signed off. All we need is Dave is going to have to sit there and sign, or I'm going to have to stamp them all after it passes. But that will get 65 folks back on the pre-annexation again. And some of those now, because they are contiguous because of Sweetbriar and Glenwood Lake coming in, they will automatically get annexed in a couple of weeks after that. So we will still continue to try to annex people out in those areas. But once we get the map, I'll be more than happy to pull up the map and show you what the configuration looks like. And maybe you guys can assist in talking to landowners out there that you might be able to convince into signing a pre-annexation agreement with the village so that we can add more to the village limits. The thing that it does do is it increases our census numbers, which also increases our tax revenue that comes into the village. So that's kind of what all of that is right there. Me and Jill have been working on that, and Greg for probably since February, I think.
Are there any questions for Pat?
Pretty hard work.
Item number 3 in a new business, an ordinance amending the village fee schedule for fiscal year 2023. My understanding is that the teams reviewed the costs associated with these items and suggesting in some cases that the charge be modified. I think there's one down and a handful or so that the charges are increased. Some of them we've already talked about, and I know we've even voted in, like the solar permit increasing from 35 to 100. I know that was talked about, and it was explained at that time that $35 didn't even cover the inspection for inspecting the system. So it's kind of writing these charges. Did I miss anything, Pat, or is there anything you want to touch on in particular?
We do this every year. We try to do it a couple weeks before the budget gets passed, because then we can look and we roughly know how many fence permits and we can estimate revenues better if we know what those prices and stuff are going to be ahead of time.
So the one question I had, Pat, was we bumped the one electric solar meter from 85 to 305. Is that due to cost? What?
Let's see. Shane gave me a note on that. This one, bro.
Yeah.
The 305 it's a 200 amp solar meter. Currently, there are no fee schedules for a 200 amp solar service. 305 is the cost of the actual solar meter that we're going to be using.
Okay.
Our policy requires the customers to pay for all equipment. This fee allows us to collect for this portion of the equipment. And then
Makes sense.
I've got an invoice of that meters that we're ordering for those.
And that some of these fees are recurring while others are one-time charges. It might be helpful for the citizens to have that notated, but so that solar fee or the solar meter, for instance, is a one-time charge, right, of 305.
I would say most of those items on there are one-time fees.
Right. I mean, many of them are notated, like monthly facility charge or rate per kilowatt. It's just, I just don't want anyone to think that they're going to be charged $305 a month for the solar meter.
Yeah, that's not the case. But we can, on that schedule, we'll turn around and put that on there, okay? Whether
Just
it's
be
a
helpful to
one-time
clarify
fee
for any citizens.
or if it's a reoccurring fee.
Cool.
If anybody wants any of the backup information, I've got that for the different cost in the water meters and also in the electric. So if they want to see that, I have it. If they're good with it, that's fine.
Any other questions?
So there'll be an ordinance for this in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Yeah, and the effective date, it says fiscal year 2023, so it's just May 1st it would be the effective date of the charge.
We probably wouldn't put these into effect till the budget passed. We'll pass it, but I don't think we were planning on initiating any of those any sooner, were we?
I think you said we could.
Yeah.
It's not like a rate, like electric rates or water.
Do you guys have a preference?
I
Start date?
I think the beginning of the fiscal year makes sense to me.
All right.
So May 1st.
Yeah, I think so. Awesome. All right, item number 4 under new business, a resolution approving the purchase of a new vac truck and sale and leaseback of the current vac truck.
You guys already know everything about that. Bonnie is
thank
an
you.
expert in it, so we'll just skip that. And no, that's why I have Dustin here this evening to explain.
No, I think, it's important that we answer the questions of the citizens. I think just to reiterate, this meeting is intended to educate the board just as much as it is the public. So
I agree.
It's
just hard. He was going to give a presentation on this ordinance between Dustin and Greg writing this. They were going to go over how we got to this. So it was a little awkward with asking the questions before we actually got a chance to go over.
Well, it's our, the committee of the whole is our chance to understand things and to ask questions and to suggest changes, just like, we did with the flock. But I think the questions that were asked were important, right? Like, did we lease the previous Vector truck or did we purchase it? And my understanding is that we leased it for something like $70,000. And if you were to go into board docs and you search, there's a search functionality. I think you could just search the word Vector. You can see the meetings and the proposed ordinances associated with that.
It's not that easy.
Oh, well, I just did it. I'm no expert, but Dan, would you mind flipping to your next tab there, the board docs?
And I'm sorry, Kathy, you're letting me go.
If there's a magnifying glass in the top right there next to the little person. Yeah, if you just search for the word Vactor, V-A-C-T-O-R, and then enter. Well, I mean, again, I'm sure systems could be better, but I did see, September 13th, 2006, a request for bid for approval of the combination of the sewer. So there are different things in here. Sorry? My understanding is, yeah, I believe so. I don't log in very often because I hope to view things like a normal citizen would. So yes, you could search that.
That's in board docs.
I look at my name constantly, like I look for Dewey just to see if there's like any celebrations or anything being scheduled, but there never are. So anyway,
So
Far more.
Dustin is here to try to answer any questions, or if you would like for him to kind of go over.
yeah, I mean,
the
I
steps that we
personally,
went through.
I personally have a question, which is, why don't we just buy the 2016 version? Like, what are the enhancements that the 2023 has, or, I know there's a balloon payment and whatever.
First of all, I thank Bonnie for helping me out, because she gave you guys all the information already. So what we're doing is, over the last 5 years, we did a maintenance program with this current combination vehicle. And what a combination vehicle is, it has a sewer cleaner on the front, and it also has a hydro excavator, which is we use water pressure and a vacuum to dig, so you're not using like a backhoe to dig up around gas or electric, or it's safe for your guys. So what we did is, there's new technology, it's called a hydro excavation truck, where it specializes in digging with the hydro, and the actual sewer machine is not on this truck. That'll be a second piece, that's a trailer that we'll use. The reason it's important to do that is, we have, just to give you an example, we were digging out here in front of AJ's, and a guy walked up to me and he says, I'm from AT&T Distribution, and there's a line right here, and if you break this line, it's $2 million an hour to fix it. I'm not kidding, that's exactly what he said to me. And so that's why it's important to have a machine to dig around that safely, so we're not tearing that up and bankrupting the village. And
Is he serious?
I'm dead serious.
Yeah, was he serious? It was a
dead
fiber
serious.
line. Oh, jeez.
2
It
million.
runs from St. Louis to
Yeah,
Chicago.
so
Oh,
those
wow.
are some of the things, but not only that, if you hit electric lines with guys in the ditch, and gas lines, we've seen the explosions in the videos. It's just super important. The one thing about this truck that makes it special is it has a heater on it. So now we can go out and sub-zero temperatures and keep that machine running, keep these guys safe, instead of using the backhoe and just digging that frozen ground up.
And for those that don't know, it's high pressure water that shoots down in there, breaks it up into pieces, and then the vacuum sucks the stuff out. Well, if you're trying to shoot high pressure water in the wintertime, if it's not warmed up,
It doesn't
you're
work.
just, you're fighting to lose a battle.
Pretty cool.
If you saw it, you would go, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty
Because it's pretty neat what it does.
And we did have an issue with frozen ground this past winter, I thought, I remember there being some difficulties there.
It's not
We
just
have
the
to
ground,
take,
right? It's
we have to take the truck back to
the
the
equipment
shed, warm
freezes.
it up, bring it back.
Yeah, it breaks and it's super expensive to fix. So anytime it's below 32, we don't use the machine, so then it becomes more dangerous for crews. So this is a new type of truck. They're actually talking to Vactor, Co-Equipment, who's local, who's selling it. These are taken over on the production line, these types of trucks, because they're safer. But also, I'll say this, Pat wanted me to come up here tonight just to talk to you guys about it tonight before we move forward. I don't think we have to vote on this anytime soon. It's not gonna be done for over a year.
It'll be in the budget, and we'll put it in the budget, but we have to give them notification to start building it for us.
Sure.
So we won't have to give them any money, but we have to sign some kind of a contract saying that we want to purchase this thing for them to be able to start building it,
And on
correct?
top of that, yes, they're gonna pay the balloon payment, rent us a truck for the interest fee, and then also give us $30,000 trade-in on the truck.
So with the first truck we leased, and that lease is expiring, and there's this point where you have this balloon payment if you want to keep it.
Correct.
They're going to pay that balloon payment and essentially take possession of it. They're going to take ownership of it. Tim, nice, this is a perfect time for you to a car dealer, but, no, and then,
Yeah, they're leasing it back to you is all.
Right,
I'm
right.
sure there's some agreement that says that we're leasing it back to you for X amount of time yeah.
Every month until that thing's built.
And that's what Greg attempted to put in that
Well,
ordinance there to explain.
We said earlier though that the 6750 was for the entire time period. I would assume that's 6750 a month.
And that's an estimated time
That's an
period that they get. So
okay.
it's like 700 something a month.
700 a month.
Yeah, he has it in the,
Yeah, it's in,
in the next
they
contract.
estimate in the actual attachment, that the total cost will be $6,750.
Okay.
So, and the balloon payment's 150 though, because you said we're getting 30 back.
179.
179, and then they took 30,000 off of the source load price.
Okay.
For them buying that, and then once they'll lease it to us for the time that we're building the truck, and then
Okay.
they're gonna sell that truck after we're done with
Okay.
it.
And
So the 30,000 is for the trade-in.
And our intent is to purchase the new truck.
Correct, and what we think is, before we did a maintenance agreement for 5 years, we didn't like, we fought with them for the whole 5 years. And that's why it's taken so long to get this to the point where we are now. We looked at buying used, we looked at several different options, multiple companies, and this is what we came up with, the best option for us. Coke really came forward and gave us some good benefits with leasing that back to us and giving us a trade-in. So that's where we're at right now with this, is we would like you guys to support moving forward and getting this built so that we can get this truck here as soon as possible. And then, Dewey, I think what you're trying to get at is, we pay this off on a, I don't know, Caleb will be up on this part, but either it's a 5-year note or 7-year note, or we think the truck's probably gonna be 8 to 10 years, and then you're gonna be at that point where you're gonna wanna trade it in, not want to replace, so that's what we're thinking, based on the last 2 trucks we've had.
How about the service on it? Does it come with a service agreement?
We will not do that again. We did not get the benefit, I think we lost on that, so, that was, our biggest agreement with them was how that went about, so.
Dustin, how will you guys repair it then? I know that you guys are struggling with mechanics.
Well, we will send it to them, but we will pay for every penny of it.
Outside.
Instead of,
Gotcha.
fee
They'll
up
still
front.
do it.
Right.
Not,
Not gonna have maintenance.
gotcha.
So we raise it, we buy it.
In the maintenance contract,
Yeah.
if the spray handle was cracked, they would replace that and charge us for it.
Because it was a wear and tear.
It was gonna work fine for the next 3 years, but because we took it in and they go, oh, the handle's cracked, we need to fix it. We can't pay for all those little nickel and dimes
Nope, gotcha.
until it's actually broke.
So that's the 2 pieces that were in the
So
warranty.
we're gonna duct tape it until we have.
And so the only other question I had was, you're educating us on this sewer attachment. I didn't know if you had an estimate of what that might run.
We're gonna put that in the budget, that'll be 80,000, we think that'll last 15 to 20 years, I mean, that's.
And you're planning to purchase that with cash all in one bang versus putting it in the note for the,
That's a question for these two.
Can you put that in your?
I just curious.
That's what we're looking at now. Once we start finalizing the numbers in the water department's budget, we'll take a look.
Yeah.
If it makes more sense for us to take a loan on that,
Easier.
Okay.
we will. However the cash flow works.
So there's a chart that's, when they gave the offer, that explains all the figures that we're talking to Greg, if we could just drop that in the ordinance. That-
It's the
it
one
just
straight
shows-
from the Sourcewell quote that shows the price, the chassis that we put on, our Sourcewell discount, our trade-in discount, the $6,000 for the subtotal, and then our air excavation
Yeah, if
package
it's
to get
done
the
sooner,
total.
it's cheaper than 6,000, that's what they said, it's a monthly fee, I don't list it that way.
Right.
That's what they said, if you want to, I'll get that clarified and get that exact amount.
Yeah, I think
The
that.
air option on there too, which brought it to 430, I think it's actually cheaper than that, because we don't want the air option on that.
So we're taking, so it'll be the
Yeah, We're gonna
411.
decline that.
Okay.
Save the money, yeah, we didn't think it was worth it.
Okay.
And the ordinance has Exhibit A, the quotation, the quote is supposed to be attached to it, so I assume that when we push it through to the regular village board meeting,
It'll be on there.
it'll be on.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Is that all the questions?
I will when the
Thanks, Dustin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5 under new business is an ordinance amending the village code pertaining to the rules of the dog park. So again, those of you that don't know, looking to install a dog park on West Side Park. Just a few items on that. The intent is to do a grand opening on May 14th, probably around 1:30, times to be determined, but my main thought on the rules of this dog park is that we've actually already discussed this. And my understanding was that we had agreed to a list of rules on September 14th. So I guess I'm a little wondering why this is being brought up again, but I guess it wasn't passed via an official ordinance. With that said, I did compare the rules that we had, as the Public Properties Commission had established or drafted, that again, we talked about in the Committee of the Whole on September 14th. I compared that list to the list here that's presented under this Committee of the Whole agenda. And there are a couple items that are missing or different. 2 of them I think we should really talk again about. And that first one being that the original draft rules had hours of 8 a.m. to dusk. This does not have any hours. The reason why I think it's important to include hours is because, as you know, I walked the whole neighborhood over there, and there were some concerns about noise. And I essentially talked about and promised to those citizens that, we'd have reasonable hours. And if the park generally closes at 10, it's not well lit. I don't want dogs barking at 9:45 because it goes against the premise or what we had discussed at that time. So I don't know your guys' thoughts on posted hours. I don't know necessarily why it was struck. Anybody have any comments or?
I like the dawn till dusk, or I mean, the dusk, what we had.
Yeah, we had drafted 8 to
dusk.
Dusk.
Can I make a recommendation?
Sure.
I'd rather have a set hour.
Okay.
Continue. I don't want my officers getting in a debate of what dusk is.
Sure.
Yeah. Argue with somebody.
Sure.
Dusk, one person's dusk, but for
Yeah.
a specific time.
Thank you.
So what do you like, Dewey? 8?
8 a.m. I think is a reasonable start time. There's probably, early risers that get up at 6 and want to do something, but
8 p.m.
I think 8 a.m. is a reasonable. Unfortunately, the time change is pretty significant in the different areas. So I would maybe say we could start with 8 to 8 and see what happens. Again, I think there's 2 reasons. One is nobody wants barking at night if barking were to occur. And then B, I might be less likely to pick up my dog's waist if nobody could see me. Or maybe I have a harder time seeing it. Like, I don't know. I just don't want to be out there at night because it's not well lit.
Dewey stepping in again.
Yeah, always stepping in it. But I do think it's important to offer those times because otherwise, it's 7:30 and the dog's barking and Vern gets called out anyway. Like, I think hours are important.
I think 8 to 8 is.
How soon does this need to be decided?
Well, we decided in September because we are ready to build signs. And we've already have the data presented to the sign company, ready to pull the trigger. It's just now we're like, whoa.
The only question I have about it is the 2 dog parks that I've been in and around, because I do get up early, there's a lot of people there at 6 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, they're usually cute older people with these little tiny dogs, and they're not making any noise. I feel bad if there's a lot of people who can't go till 8 that want to go earlier. So I don't know what the right time is. I just know that when I've been around 2 of the dog parks I've been involved with, there's a lot of people there earlier than 8. I don't know but if I lived there, I probably wouldn't want them there. I don't know. I don't know what the right time is.
Right, and that's the the fine line that I think this board was trying to walk as we want to get this installed for the vast majority of the citizens that ask for it, and then obviously being aware of those people that live in those neighborhoods. So I'm open for anything. Again, I basically said when Trustee Scherschel and I walked was like it would be very reasonable hours that you would expect people to be outside.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, hey, is there any way we can ask those people, hey, you live here, how soon you want people in your backyard, with dogs? I don't know what that would look like or whatever, but they might be the people who want to go there at 6 in the morning.
Right, yeah, they may. The only other thing that I'll say is that Rolo Saucier, who is working to get the signs installed, mentioned to me that the sign was going to be built in a way that you could it's not like a dry erase marker, but it wouldn't be that difficult to adjust the time.
Okay.
So I'm thinking in the summertime, 8 p.m. would be early too, during the week, if you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but the batch was just starting.
And now you guys see why we took the time out, because nobody can ever decide.
No, I know, it's just, I personally told these citizens that we would have reasonable hours and
Well, you can blame me and Vern, okay?
But Vern, you would like times?
Well, it's more enforceable. Not that we're not, it's easier to say, no, it's 9 o'clock, park is closed, you have to go.
Sure.
These are the rules that the city of Springfield uses.
Gotcha.
So evidently, they don't put a time on their rules. They put a time on their park.
Sure.
And say, park is closed
That's nice.
I'm here to hear.
Well, the park's already closed right at 10 PM, but the reason why I think it's more important for us to do it is because our park is located closer to residents than some of the other dog parks.
Springfields aren't. They're dog parks.
I mean, yeah, right. It's one of the concerns that was brought up a few times.
No, I get that.
So again, I would ask that we amend it. Trustee Fletcher, I'm fine to go 7 to 8 if you want to try that to start, and then it's a reasonable compromise.
If it's, if it's bothersome to, families and we can move it, if we can change that, I'm open to moving it. I don't want to make anybody mad that lives there.
Right, yep. None of us do. I don't.
Right.
So would you guys be okay with 7 AM to 8 PM?
Let's go.
All right, so I'll suggest that change. And then secondly, the other item that I personally think is important is that we had suggested that the handlers be at least 16 years old. That was taken out. I know that that's challenging, right? Like if it's little teacup Chihuahua, then maybe my 11-year-old can handle it. But if it's a bigger dog that has a lot more energy and there becomes a fight, I don't know. We had originally proposed that the handler be 16 years old or older, and that is not included in this.
That was based on, Rolo goes to a lot of these parks.
Yeah, he's like
all over the
Research
country.
this.
Yeah.
And again, Springfield doesn't have it. I understand that, but, and I don't know that people are going to be reporting like, hey, that kid looks 14 or whatever. I think just having the rule, and if it becomes a problem, then you have the rule of reference to say, hey, look, you weren't old enough to be here and to begin with or whatever. Justin?
So basically, me, Pat, and Vern went over and you talked about what could be enforced and what couldn't. And you're right. What we don't want is people self-policing the park and saying, every 5 minutes he's getting a call saying, I think there's a 14-year-old girl down here with a dog. Because we wanted kids to be able to take their dog down to the park and play at the park. I think that's important. But if they become a nuisance, then obviously he can go down there and have them leave. So that's where it gets tricky, is Rolo, he was kind of saying, hey, well, if somebody's younger, then we can tell them to leave. Well, no, you can't. It has to be Vern, it has to be a park employee, it has to be somebody with the Village of Chatham.
Right. Sorry.
Go ahead, you're fine.
I was just saying, like, if there isn't a rule written, I would think it would be hard for Vern to roll in there and say, hey, you don't look strong enough to carry that dog around. And then, alternatively, if you could say, hey, you don't look strong enough to carry that dog around. How old are you? Like, oh, I'm 11. Well, then, sorry, bud, 16. Like, I don't understand the difference of being able to address that situation if the rule isn't written. I'm no policeman. I don't know how I would handle it, but.
That's a rule, but you need to go back and look at your ordinances, because there's nothing in the ordinances that the police can fall back on to enforce that rule. I mean, there's nothing in the ordinance that says that you have to be 12 years old, you have to be 10 years old, you have to be 8 years old.
That's what he's talking about.
There's nothing in this draft ordinance, I agree.
But go back to the original ordinance. That's a rule. It's a recommendation. The rules are, what I look at as recommendations. You have to fall back on your ordinance. The ordinance is not specified in the ordinance that says that you shall be such and such age to walk a dog or to lease a dog, whatever you want to look at.
This would be putting it in there. So,
Specifically for the dog park?
yes.
Right.
That's what these are.
Again, I'm not sure. I welcome your. I mean, you're the expert
I don't
here.
want police, I'll be honest with you, I do not want my officers spending any time down the dog park enforcing dog rules. I mean, our police department has better things to do than to be the Gestapo of the dog park.
Sure. Yeah, I understand that. I think, again, what I personally feel is that, the village has an obligation to make sure that this thing runs well. And what that means is.
Like, you have to show some good faith for the people attending the dog park. And I think if a problem occurs, then they would call the police at that point. So if you have, let's say, a 12-year-old out there walking the dog and something occurs, then they would call the police. And those occurrences would probably be rare. So it might not be worth putting it into an ordinance.
Oh, the posted age would help us liability-wise, though.
I was going to say, how does that fall on liability of insurance or anything like that?
Posted age would help us because there's posted rules, you didn't follow the rules. we're not liable.
Again, I don't, just another sidebar. I don't expect the police to go in and be watching for each of these. Again, I don't like rules that you don't intend to enforce, but at the same time, we know that there are people that speed in Chatham and not everybody's caught. I guess, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but like, for instance, number 13, I think it would be difficult for a police officer to enforce that. It doesn't mean though that it shouldn't be there, you know, and maybe there's rules versus recommendations. Again, it's a weird thing, but I worry about that, you know, 7-year-old girl that takes the big German Shepherd down there and something bad happens. What is our responsibility in that, and what's our liability? I know that there's notes in here that say, you know, you're on your own. You walk through this gate, you're on your own. But at the same time, doesn't mean we can't build recommendations or rules to try to lead the best outcome.
Well, a 7-year-old girl can't be out there all by
I
herself.
don't mean to say girl. It could be a
No,
25-year-old
child.
Dewey that can't hold a little dog. I'm just
Unattended.
making examples.
Well, I mean, there's gonna be issues. I mean, irregardless,
Sure.
because you have dogs running loose, they're animals. I know for a fact we're gonna have a dog bite another dog.
Yep.
That's gonna be an ordinance violation. That's gonna be a problem. Then it's gonna be the yelling match between A party and B party, like whose dog bit whose dog.
Sure.
Quarantining and all of that.
Animal control, they don't have the rabies shot. For me, I don't like the dog. I have a dog.
Sounds like we need another camera.
The dog camera.
It focuses, hey, that could be something new. It focuses
Wait, the
on the
plot guy
on
back.
the thing, and it's as if it's been vaccinated or not. So,
That's why, I mean, that's what we're trying to be totally ambiguous with the rules, but we try to keep them as open as possible. I mean,
Well, I'm assuming the further open they are, though, the more liability we're under, though,
I
right?
understand that.
You know, if you put I mean, the weird, not the weird's the wrong word, but the over-concerned dog owner that is in the park and thinks that person is not able to control their dog, I need to call the police. What's the difference between, it ain't like they're sizing them up based on you know what I'm saying? Whether it's they're unable to control the dog or I think they're too young, it's kind of the same, you know, it's the same profile of dog owner that would make that call anyway, you know? I don't think anyone should make that call, don't get me wrong. Police should never have to go to the dog park because there's a concerned citizen that someone else might not be able to control their dog, but we know that people are people.
And I would imagine most people, hopefully, probably not, but if I saw that Mr. Nice's dog, he couldn't control it, he's got a big old, you know, mammoth dog, I would leave. If I felt concerned for me and my dog, I would leave. I'm not going to call the police on him, I would think, I would hope. Yeah, there will be some.
I'm sure.
And maybe the age, maybe listing the age makes them call the police more, or maybe not listing the age makes them call the police more. I just think that the age is not going to be a factor in whether or not they call the police. But I do think the age could help us if there were a terrible situation that were to occur. That's what I'm getting at.
I want them to not call them rules and call them recommendations. And when we don't take any responsibility.
Well, you're going to have a hard time with number 15. I recommend you pay $500. Well, you can recommend your way right over to Arby's. But
You are funny tonight.
yeah, Dewey's been saving up.
I'm just saying, like,
I really do.
Dewey said all the one.
I don't know. Again, it's this board that's got
It's a
to
special-
pass this ordinance. So if you guys are good with the rules as is, if you want to just make the hour adjustment or.
Can I just ask, what was the frequency of complaints with the dog park as it was after it opened? Were there any complaints?
It hasn't opened yet.
It opens May.
It opens May.
We'll tell you.
It opens on May 14th.
Wasn't open last year
Yeah.
No.
I thought we were
No,
just.
so
They put it off.
we built most of it. A couple other updates, I guess, might help. But there were some people that broke into it and let their dogs run around early. They broke the lock open, and we've replaced that. The fountains, I think, are in-house, and Dustin seems going to help install those soon, this week, hopefully, as long as weather cooperates. We have put on new dog locks new locks on the poop stations so that it's easier for the team to deal with that. And there are 2 memorial benches that have been ordered by 2 groups donating them. So again, we're building up the park right now. The plan is to get this grass stabilized and seeded well and be able to handle all the dogs, handle all the dogs that are going to hit it on May 14th. But we don't have a list of complaints just yet, other than open this thing already. That's the only complaint that I've heard.
Well said. With all of Rollo's research, what about surrounding areas?
Rollo's the man to answer that. I can't tell you. Again, I think what we found and what Rollo found was that every dog park does it slightly differently, and these are Springfield's rules that don't have an age. So, but obviously he found rules that did.
I would like to see the age, but it is what it is.
Yeah, so again, the original proposal, September 14th, said handlers must be 16 years or older. If you like that, raise your hand. If you don't, no.
Fine.
Right.
What about 14? Why
Through
don't
3
you
and a half.
drive?
I was a really strong 14. You're like
I'm-
a big dog.
Yeah, no, again,
High school.
I like recommend on that, and
Okay.
I would go with probably 14,
all right.
just so
So-
that we can solve some issues
Sure.
between 14 and 16.
So 14 or older, and 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Recommended.
Are you going to go through each of these items and do the recommended versus rule? Like that's the,
Yes.
okay.
I'm just joking.
Oh, let me know.
I
Let me know.
can be colony too.
Vern, did you sign off on these?
He did. Tell the truth.
I guess,
Vern, you keep my house safe, I go with your rules.
It's, you know, discussions had, it's gonna be very difficult to enforce all of these. You know, recommended, so if our officer gets down there, how many times are we gonna do this individual one over? We'll deal with it as it comes.
Yeah, and we can adjust rate. If we find that number 13 is just too hard, then we can shrink it.
Just say that the
I just-
dogs have to be neutered.
I think it is in here
I
somewhere.
don't think I read that.
No,
Because they don't go into heat if they're neutered and spayed.
it's their choice.
Only allow Irish setters. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the other serious questions were, would we outlaw certain dog breeds?
No,
Great
look,
Danes.
we're good. We're good. 1% Great Dane
Well,
can
again,
go.
somebody asked me this weekend. I said I don't think there's intent to. So I'm just saying, like, we could go crazy if we want to.
We're good.
So, all right, those 2 proposed changes, and then anything else that you want to add or remove before we push to the regular village board meeting? All righty. Could you guys make those 2 adjustments, and then we'll see it on some upcoming meeting. Item number 6 under new business, a resolution approving Summer Skies to utilize the village parks for helicopter tours during the Chatham Sweet Corn Festival. I'm not sure if there's any person that's presenting this, but I believe the Chatham JCs have been working with a particular company that could come in and offer this service during the Sweet Corn Festival. I think it's a relationship between the potential customer and the company. Maybe there's a waiver. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't been fully involved in it, but it would be kind of an attraction to the Sweet Corn Festival and to the Village of Chatham. You pay $25, you ride in the helicopter for 3 minutes, you fly over your house, or you fly over Dave's house and drop eggs, whatever you want to do.
We can't get there.
I'll tell you guys the address. And so, anyway, that's the plan. I don't think this is,
Does it include the eggs or do you have to?
my understanding is I don't think this is like necessary, but the company had asked for it.
Well, what about, I mean,
So-
are we requiring a policy?
So they would need permission to use our soccer fields for takeoff and landing, and they need to have a long stretch to do that. And so they couldn't operate anywhere in the village without us giving them permission. In addition, the way this is written, we would require them to indemnify and hold us harmless for any conduct related to this event. The payment and all that would be an agreement between the JCs and Summer Skies. We wouldn't be involved, but because we don't want, at least I personally wouldn't want us to be out there as, I guess, putting it out that these are village tours or anything like that. This is Summer Skies offering a
Sweet
tour.
corn tours.
Yeah, not the Village of Chatham tours. Just with this company, I've dealt with something similar in Rochester. We use Summer Skies to do a ball drop for a football fundraiser that they had out there. That was done by a fundraising group, not by the village, but it was on village park property. So they did indemnify and hold the village harmless for any activity that was conducted. And so we would use that sort of scenario here. I don't want to allow or let them use village property if we're not indemnified, just because things can go wrong with helicopters.
And that sounds like it's kind of common practice, right?
Yeah, they had no issue with it when we did it.
Is it typical for us to say, hey, if something terrible were to happen and you mess up the concession stand, that we might come back at them?
I don't think we put the way what we would write is something along the lines of any that they would agree to return any village property back to the condition in which it was found. So if something goes wrong and they tear up the soccer field,
right,
they'd have to put it back to the condition before it started. So we'd have that in there, and then obviously if worst case scenario happens and there's something that really damages, then it would be a lawsuit situation.
So we could add that section 4, right? Maybe it's in there, and I apologize, with respect to returning the village land the same way you found it, or the village property. Is it covered?
It's not in here. It would be in our letter, but I can add it to the resolution just to clarify for everybody that that's a part of this as well.
Yep. You buy it.
Yeah. Are there any other comments or suggestions? Do you guys want to move forward with this? Do you not want this to
That's a good idea.
be allowed? Brett, you in, out?
I'm in.
I don't know. Insurance guys in. You guys okay with it?
We're good.
I'm not riding
You
you.
good with it?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll push
I'm
this
not riding
forward
either,
with
but
that
yeah,
one.
yeah.
I can imagine it's gonna sell real big.
The military is like
For
well equipped.
$25,
Anytime you
it's
hear
a
about a
one-time
crash.
event.
You wanna fly over Chatham? Is the Grand Canyon around here somewhere that I don't know
No,
about?
but
looks
Dewey
like
says
that.
I get to drop eggs.
A lot of corn to look at in July.
Yeah, I've been wanting to fly over some
Item,
for quite a while.
item number 7 under new business is CMT engineering updates. Jim, thank you for being patient.
Yay, Jim.
Yay.
We love
You
Jim.
don't have a whole lot, do you? You don't have a whole lot, do you?
Jim, you waited. You do whatever you need to do, brother.
Well, I don't know, it's,
Trustee Fletcher.
You need to get a longer arm or where you're.
Be nice to Jim. He's our friend.
Okay. Thank you.
a couple items that we're working on, working with Dustin on the Parks Department. Last time that we were here, we did repaved 250 foot of the bike trail. New concrete in that area, replacing trail due to tree roots and just deterioration. The other one that we recently did that you guys have seen is bid out the new playground equipment and then ordinances for other repairs throughout the village. We're pulling together bid documents for fencing and ball diamonds at Westside Park, and those will go out next week, and also for improvements at the shelter at Westside Park as well. So you'll see those documents listed in the Chatham Clarion, and we'll get those awarded and work moving forward. That's all part of that overall comprehensive parks grant that village received. MFT items, we're pulling together the 2022-2023 MFT program. Main improvement item on that will be Gordon Drive from Walnut up to the county village jurisdiction limit there right by Pleasant Park Nursery. So hope to get that done here this summer. As the Cameron representative said, permits through IDOT 3 to 6 months. Yes, it takes that long to get anything through IDOT. So we have the plans probably about 85% done. So at your next meeting, you'll see the maintenance resolution for these MFT projects to get that voted on and move forward with IDOT so we can get the projects moving forward. Second project that we're looking at is significant concrete patching. As we talked last time, there's items that the city crews just aren't comfortable, qualified to do due to higher volumes, wider roadways, perfectly content doing the secondary roads. But there's safety concerns and just the way that their setups are done. So we're going to bid out approximately $75,000 worth of concrete patching in subsequent years to get ahead on some of the larger roads that put our own people at a disadvantage in doing that work and having road builders do that. And then the remainder of this year's contract will be the regular maintenance items, salt, curb and gutter work, sidewalk work, new signs, street signs, that kind of stuff. So, cleaning out ditches, so forth and so on that village crews take care of. So that will be the MFT program for 2022-2023.
My only question there was, I think a couple of us Gordon drive often, and personally, I think that between Walnut and that first street there, I got it wrong the first time, Mulberry or something. That area is rough for sure. I think even that intersection of Walnut and Gordon is pretty rough. And if you get, just FYI, if you're traveling quickly southward, you could get some air there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. So anyway, I don't know is that intersection a part of this?
Wasn't planning on that. It'd be north side of Walnut and heading north. I know that the roadway's crown through,
right.
And that hole should have been, out through there. But if we're wanting to reprofile that and redo that, you're probably, my rough guess is you're probably looking at about $75,000 to $80,000 to do that work.
For just that.
Yeah,
Traffic control, milling off all that pavement, reestablishing grades, and so forth.
Yeah, the only reason I'm bringing up Gordon again, because I travel it often, but there's a decent section between Walnut and Pleasant Park that's pretty good. But there's some sections that are rough, and you're obviously the expert as far as like stop go is going to cost you more than just go. It's just, personally, I wanted to take a look at that as to see, if there's half of that or 33% of that stretch is reasonable, is it worth saving the $60,000 and putting it towards more concrete patching?
The problem with that area, though, it's not broke up quite as bad, but if you drive down there, it ponds water. You can see the shoulders are higher than the middle part of the road. The thing needs to be built back up so that the water drains off of it. If we have low spots in the middle, and that's what Gordon seems to have more than anything, it ponds water there, and when it does, that water seeps in, washes away the oil away from the rock, and the next thing you know, you got an alligator, and then it's starting to come apart. We throw patch in there and try to fix it, but it doesn't help. You can easily see when you're driving down that road where the county's part starts and where our part finishes.
Sure, no, again,
and that's where we're planning on starting and running down. Now, I would like to be able to take it through the intersection, and if we can look that, if you're thinking only another 80,000 to be able to get it across that intersection, or at least halfway through that intersection.
Would that fix that light too?
We have in the budget for fixing all the traffic signals, the three traffic signals.
4 in the
that
morning,
area.
that light doesn't work half the time.
Yeah.
Same.
That was the next item.
Yeah.
So, also looking at, video detection system upgrades at Walnut Park and Walnut and Gordon.
Yeah.
And then also looking at the traffic controller at Walnut and Plummer. You have several outages on that work.
Yeah.
Flames red.
Sure. Flashes red. It just, for no reason, just all of a sudden starts flashing red. Now, it seems like it always does it over the weekend, so nobody really gets too upset. But when Monday morning rolls around and all those kids are trying to come to school, not so good.
There's a lot of times I sit around and burn around. I gotta get to the gym. I gotta go. This thing sat here 4 times.
Having that thing flash red on the weekends isn't a big deal. I think it helps traffic go.
It probably does. Yeah.
Is there a rule, Vern, like a 30 Mississippi you could do?
So we make that recommendation.
Like a 10-minute thing, you don't have to go to class. I mean, can't it be like that? I mean, something.
If you do a right hand and then another right hand and then
that church blocks that. Yeah.
Actually, there is for motorcycles.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, because it probably doesn't.
And is it called 30 Mississippi?
No. That was the word
Depends on the state.
I didn't know that, but.
Sorry, Jim. Jim's like, I just want to go home, go to bed.
Just like I'm already like an hour behind.
I got to 28 in the car.
Any questions?
Are you sure? Can we check your notes to make sure you didn't?
He's like, no, I'm not talking about the rest of these things.
And he's like, I'm done.
I do want to talk about the rest of the
That
things.
did
Just
kind of look like you quit there, like you just stopped halfway through your list. You're really done?
He was done with the traffic signals.
Okay.
Sorry. So that signals I thought was part of the ARPA funds, where we were going to try to take some of those funds that we were given via that
We are.
act. What are the other items in that act that were selected? Because I think you'd asked the trustees to provide their preferences, and I know I did. I don't know if the others had a chance to yet, but I'm,
Can't she just send it to us?
You wouldn't understand my hieroglyphics.
Sorry, Jim.
Psych.
Goes to see.
Hey, we still have audience tonight after this. It's pretty good.
Oh, well, a couple people always stay. So.
How do you know that?
Huh?
How do you know that?
So for
We have
ARPA,
audience.
Oh, you mean them?
The real
I thought you meant
audience.
digitally.
Oh,
village
no.
received $1.6 million
Okay.
from the feds for ARPA funds.
Excellent.
800,000 in 2 different segments.
Installments.
I have down here traffic signals, rebuild those. I have oil and chip work on the east and west sides of town. I have the base infrastructure for headwaters pond piping, excavation, and retention facility down at our park area to be able to build that pond. And the demolition of the buildings over on the square.
Sounds good.
And that's where we're at now. And if those bids come in and
Are we doing the park as well? Not only the pond, but the
we are not doing the park through the park with this first, because that was going to be 750,000 just it.
This is the first half.
Yeah,
The first 800,000.
Yeah.
the first 800,000.
So the thing to do is and kind of the recommendation and the thought process is on here is some of those big chunks. There's a lot of smaller projects in that. If we get fortunate with some of our bids and start going under on some of those, then you can start going back and grabbing some of the smaller ones piece by piece.
We didn't have to vote on how the funds were spent though, because of the,
In a way you will, because it'll be in the budget.
but we, at least again, you asked us to provide our priorities, and I know for certain I did. I don't know if any of the other trustees did or not, but I'm curious as to see who selected the building demolition site clearing.
I would not have.
Trustee Charlie.
Well, I thought because we have this, that's money that's extra. We have some extra funds right now.
Well, extra in that we could be doing these other projects too.
We could add.
But again,
on
I mean,
parking.
to each their own. That's your prerogative to have voted however you want. But
Let the staff finish through the rest of the budget process too, because this is a piece of the whole thing. So as they start to go through some of these
This
other
was our
things,
attempt to appease everyone and touch on items that were close to everybody's heart.
And I was thinking of things that we don't normally spend our money on and things that have to be done.
So if you spend any time at South Park though, on a Saturday, you'll know we need more parking. So that's what I would have chosen that over the, because they were both 250.
You didn't send in your.
No, I didn't, but that's what I would.
again, I guess I'm confused in that how this all worked out. I thought the 5 trustees were going to submit their interest, and it sounds like not everybody did. But personally, I think almost every single item on this list is more important than demolishing the sites.
Well, it was just ideas for things that we don't normally do. Money's going to go into the parks.
Well, the money doesn't go into the parks. It's going to destroy these buildings. 250 grand is the estimate. Again, you're welcome to your own opinion and prerogative. I just am surprised that's one of the 4 that made
It's
it.
all up for debate. Like, I mean, it's not, we first have to see how things come out in the wash.
No, I think that what we're hearing is that that's the plan, is to spend 250 grand to demolish the buildings on the square versus the other items listed here, like the backup water power supply and the.
It was one of the things
You're right, the backup power supply and the backup elevated tank. I think I had those in there also.
yeah, I had those.
Are there any other items that are in there that, because I know we're over 800K at this point.
I'd like to sometime address the heat and the concession stand. I know it's a small thing, but.
Well, that was what I was hoping, is that if we get savings on going through the bidding process, it would only take $180,000 to be able to take care of 6 other items on here, and they all dealt with the parks and stuff like that. So looking at it, it looks like the best way of distributing the funds right now. So
Maybe we save that demolition till last and sort of see where we are on everything else. Is that possible?
Sure.
Well, I think my understanding is we've already gotten 800K. We've already received the first installment. And
Correct.
So my understanding is that as soon as we agree to this, that they're going to go and do these things. And so.
You have to get bids, you have to accept bids.
Yeah, the board will get to vote for all that stuff. If the bids come in too high, you can reject.
Again, I'm just one vote on this, but I look at this list, I know Trustee Nice hasn't had the opportunity to.
Looking at it right now.
But it's just,
Well, I was under the impression that other people were interested in demolishing the buildings as well.
yeah, I'm not going to speak for them. I can only speak for myself.
So do you have any other questions? On the village manager update,
Thanks, Jim.
we have started the budget
Hi,
process.
Jim. Have a good night.
The first part of the budget process was to go through these ARPA funds and kind of get an idea where we're going to go with those. Kayla has been working on looking at our projected revenues and looking at our items that we have reoccurring expenses with. Starting tomorrow, we'll start meeting with Chief Foley, Dustin, and also Shane Hill to try to finalize their different departments and what their requests are. And we will put together a budget document, and then we will do like what we've done in the past. For some of you that are new, what I try to do is schedule 1 or 2 of you at a time to come in and sit down with the staff and go over the budget so that you can see how we go through the process and how we get to the conclusions that we've got and how we've been able to save money for the village over the last 7 years. We would offer that to everyone again. Once we get that document in place, we'll allow each person either to come in individually if they'd like. We can do it in 2s, but any more than that, then we violate the Open Meetings Act. So,
When do we expect to have those meetings?
I don't know. I think it's going to go, it'll hinge on how well this week goes with our staff of being able to pull this stuff together, and then have given Kayla enough time to be able to get that stuff in her budget document. And if we have that thing in there, we're ready to go. I would love to be able to have meetings with you before the first meeting in May, but I'm not exactly sure if I can do that or not. Yeah, we have not heard from our insurance provider. They gave us a tentative increase of 15%. So we asked them also to turn around and give us a couple other options, since Blue Cross Blue Shield has been battling with the Springfield Clinic, and be able to take a look at that. So I think we will look at those, and I'd like to get input from my staff too and see how that affects a lot of the people and their families and stuff. So we might have a group meeting in one of our bigger buildings and stuff and kind of go over and lay it out for them so that they understand where we're at and get their thoughts. Because even though you can't go to the clinic right now, Blue Cross Blue Shield pays pretty well on a lot of the items that come across in insurance. So I don't know what's the best offer going to be.
Premiums in Sangamon County, had they taken the original offer, would have increased by 30%.
In Springfield?
Yeah.
Oh, for Sangamon County.
For Sangamon County. With what they were asking for now, you're looking at probably 50 to 60%.
Increases?
Who's, I mean, Blue Cross asking or Springfield Clinic?
Springfield Clinic.
Oh. So, kind of where we're at on that, okay?
I'll keep you updated. I'm intimately involved in the goings on with it.
Probably affects you a lot, doesn't it?
No, just our agents. Yeah.
Yeah,
Prioritize.
I see it. Like, these decisions aren't final yet.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Pat?
We got a couple more, right?
Huh?
So next meeting.
Next meeting, I need, I need the public to start making nominations for Volunteer of the Year for Volunteer Drive. We like to try to get that determined before Sweet Corn Festival. And,
Also the transfer ordinance.
yeah, there'll be a transfer ordinance where we go and we settle up all the accounts where if we thought we were going to spend this much in training, but we didn't spend quite that much in training, but we went over a little bit in overtime, we move money from there to there. So we'll do that as a final up. And then also at the next meeting, we'll have an ordinance allowing us to spend into the next fiscal year if we don't have the budget done by the end of the month. We always pass that every year just in case, but we spend at the same rate as what we did in this year's budget. I think, am I forgetting anything else?
Those are the three I had.
Any other questions for Pat? Item number 9 under new business is the Public Properties and Recreations Committee. We did meet. We talked a bit about the dog park. We obviously spent a great deal of time talking about the playground equipment that this board selected. And I appreciate you guys' involvement in letting the Public Properties Commission kind of lead that charge. And I think it was good for them and good for the village overall. I do believe there's a vacancy on that board that I would love to see seated. I know that that's President Kimsey's selection, but I'd like to get that seat filled. And I think there's at least one applicant, so look forward to that. Does anybody have any questions for Public Properties Commission?
Did we name the dog park?
We did not name the dog park. I think this board was going to be, I don't know if, it's kind of an interesting thing. I don't think it happens too often, but I think the Public Properties Commission wouldn't have that latitude necessarily, but it would ask that the village board rename something. And I think we've just had a hard time finding something that makes sense. We already have the park named, and it would be a little strange to have kind of a park within a park named, but yeah, I don't think at this point anybody has a proposal. If you guys have one, obviously we can talk about it. Or if you think about it and come back to us, but.
Titan Dog Park.
Top dog.
Top dog, corn dog. Yeah. So yeah, if you have any ideas, obviously, shoot them my way and I can share them with the Public Properties Commission, or obviously you can share them any other way you'd like. Item number 10 under new business, Utility Oversight Committee.
We met last night. The consensus that we came up with is when I know we're going to have the billing system with the solar tab, and if we could get, however those are going to be dealt with, procedures in writing to update the customer manual, that would be great. And then how we're going to deal with, because it's not been real clear, how we're going to deal with customers that install after 2023, where they'll be billed this rate and then they'll get credit at this rate, how that, if we could have that in writing so people are clear on what their bill will look like going forward for those people that aren't grandfathered. That was the recommendation of that committee, is if we could get those clarified.
Surprisingly enough, the Springbrook people are very receptive to these changes. I think they're hearing it from multiple communities, and they've given us indication that the changes that we've requested are going to be the standard for what they go forward with. So,
good.
I told them, I said, I think you owe us.
Yeah.
Because we came up with the idea for them on how to solve the problem with keeping track of the solar building.
Did I miss anything?
When do you anticipate that going in place?
I would think that they could have it done in the next 2 months.
Okay. And do you mind sending out the 34 residents we have?
Yes.
Do you mind sending them out a letter and just update them and let them know when the changes are going to take place?
Yeah, I would suggest we know for sure when they're gonna.
Yeah,
change.
but I mean,
Exactly what those
Right.
are, so that like
Right.
Brett said, if there's a procedure and this is how we're
Yeah.
gonna do it, this is how we're gonna handle it.
Yep.
We'll send them a letter, let
Okay.
them know all of that.
That would be
give
perfect.
them
That
about
was
30
the
to,
last.
30 to 45 days notice, if we can, of when it's going to take place.
And that was the feedback.
The last question we had too, because you just triggered my head there, is when we do the end of the year, because we read the meter on the 15th, so are we going to read the meter January 15th or December 15th to do the settle up? Or are we going to read it on January 1st?
We usually read them on the first of the month.
Okay, all right.
They're due on
The
the
bill is due on the 15th, but we usually read them around the first of the month. And then-
Because of course, we did have a citizen here and he's like, I see my guy reading mine on the 14th. I'm like, okay, whatever. So if we do it on the first and we settle up then, that's good and tidy and we're good. Yeah,
Yeah.
got it.
And Mr. Dozier also asked, he'd send us all emails about a website about some of the programs that's available by Illinois. I saw that you sent out an email today that actually had that link on the village website.
I did. I got that email and I put it in my solar folder and forgot to go back and do it. But what I did was I went to IMEA's webpage and they have quite a few things that they offer to communities or to customers that are in the service area for they get electricity from IMEA. So what I did is I created a webpage for IMEA links and put a couple different connections on there. And then they have a quarterly newsletter. And I linked that quarterly newsletter to it. One of the things that I come across today when I was looking at the quarterly newsletter is starting next month, they offer each community that's part of IMEA $250,000 to put in a solar charging station somewhere in the public area.
That would be cool.
So I think you'll see somewhere in the budget that we might do that, and then we'll purchase an electric vehicle for the village administrator to drive around.
After I get my signs. Thank you for doing that.
That's all we had. Thank you.
Any questions for the Utility Oversight Committee?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Number 11, under new business, any public comments regarding any village business? Appreciate you, those of you that stayed. Scheduled meetings, the Committee of the Whole meet again on May 10th at 6:15 or after the village board meeting. I am unaware of any need for closed session, so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Trustee Charo, seconded by
I'll second.
Trustee Fletcher with the hand. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, friend.
Congrats, Tim.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Congrats.
Excellent. I'm done now. No.
Oh, no, it's just the beginning.
Wonderful
You
experience.
know they swore you in, you can't, back out. Yeah, you're done now, brother.
however you want me to get a hold of you.
Yeah.
Cell phone or landline or whatever.
Lowell's got his first jack.
And what I will do, every trustee gets a village email. I log in and
Yes, the air was on, and so I kept keeping eye contact with Vern. Hey, Vern, good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
He sees me.
the instructions on how to do it and stuff like that.
Sounds good to me. Thank you for everything.
Yeah, people just close
Jill,
it, especially
my
in the
assistant,
summertime. We don't
sometime
have
when
the
you have
coats
time.
and jackets on, so we did get,
You come in,
comfortable.
because you get paid $500 a month, she'll have you fill out the little thing for whether you're claiming anybody and stuff like that. She has to have you sign some papers
Yes.
and stuff.
I got it. I'll do it by the end of next week.
Card, if you ever have any questions,
Don't call Greg.
Thank you. Yeah,
or if you don't like Pat, if you get annoyed with him.
I will. I certainly will.
You don't need to sour on the first night, you know,
Oh, we've already taken care of that, Pat. That's okay.
yeah, the parking lot there and just a lot of.
Okay, Tim, you're responsible.
I'll buy you a drink next door.
You're responsible for turning it off.
I don't have it. But I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Wait a minute, you didn't,
No,
you never,
I
you
will
didn't